We're back now with Tom Donilon. He served in the Obama administration as National Security Advisor until last summer. Tom, what happened?
Well, with respect to Iraq, what happened is that you've had really a failure by the Maliki government to really follow on a number of promises that he made both to the United States, to the international community, and more importantly to the political leadership in Iraq. He's failed to really integrate the Sunni political leadership into his government. He's engaged in really kind of putting together a sectarian and authoritarian state, and we're seeing the results of that at this point. It also, by the way, as Senator Graham was saying, is a result of the breakdown on the border, complete breakdown on the border between Syria and Iraq, and the infusion of a large number of foreign fighters into the situation.
You know, I must say that a lot of people, including Senator Graham, who a couple of years ago said that if we leave there without leaving a residual force, this is exactly what's going to happen. Well, what they said seems to have happened.
Well, I think what happened is this. I mean, and think back, all right. At the end of December 2011, the United States withdrew its forces. That had been, though, after 8.5 years of working in Iraq. We tried to get a status of forces agreement, that is an agreement by the Iraqi government to provide the protections to our soldiers needed if we were going to stay, and they wouldn't provide it. And indeed, if you think about the situation at that point, that what they were telling us is they politically couldn't provide it after
well, let me
8.5
just
years.
interrupt you there so people will understand. The
Yes.
status of forces agreement is something that says, well, for example, if an American soldier is arrested or becomes a captive of the Israeli government, they can take him into court, they can try him, that we have no jurisdiction. We have never left troops in a country without that kind of agreement, at least not in modern times.
That's exactly right.
As far as I can remember.
That's exactly
but
right,
I guess
Bob. That's
what
important.
some people are saying, should we have tried harder to get that status of forces agreement? Because some are saying, as you well know, the president is looking for an excuse to get out of there.
No, we offered it. We offered a status of forces agreement, and you're exactly right. Our presidents, our military leadership are not going to allow our armed forces to operate in an environment like that anywhere in the world without having the appropriate protections. And that wasn't forthcoming. And indeed, the politics in Iraq at that point wouldn't allow it to be forthcoming, is my own personal judgment. Now, it's also, by the way, been 2.5 years since December 31st, 2011, where the Iraqi government was given the space and time to put together the kind of inclusive government and to deal with a number of these issues, and it failed to do so. So you've had 8.5 years up until that point, 2.5 years since then. We have been engaged in trying to support the Iraqis in this counterterrorism fight against this ISIS group. They resisted by the way, our getting involved deeply in their security issues up until about a year ago, when this problem obviously stared them in the face and they saw that they needed help.
Should the president order airstrikes now? We know he's obviously contemplating that. I
think we should do a number of things, and I'll get to the airstrikes. We should support the Iraqi government counterterrorism efforts. We should provide intelligence. We should provide more intelligence. We should provide material and do it on an accelerated basis. We should provide advice and planners, I think, with respect to making sure that the Iraqis can get an Iraqi ground force together. With respect to direct American action, such as airstrikes, I think a couple of things. First of all, it's not a panacea, number one. And number two, it has to be done in coordination with things on the ground. There has to be a military purpose. Number three, there need to be targets. And this is, I think, what the White House is going through right now, is asking those questions. I've been through a number of these things, Bob, as you know, right? You need to have targets, you need to have a military plan, and it needs to be coordinated with the rest of your efforts. Most importantly, though, any direct military action by the United States needs to be done when we see that the Iraqi government has actually pulled itself together politically. You know, when you have a situation where you have in Mosul where 800 fighters come in and can run off 30,000 troops, that's a bigger problem than just supply issues, right, logistical issues. That's a morale issue. That's a management of your military issue. That's a political issue. There's a reason that the Sunnis in the western part of Iraq have kind of allowed this to happen. I think, as Senator Graham said, over time, this is not how the Iraqi people want to live. But this really is a testament to the fact that you haven't had the kind of political inclusiveness that you need. And so any direct military action that I would recommend to the president would need to be contingent upon us seeing the Iraqi government have steps towards inclusive government, bringing in some of the competent military leaders that have been pushed out for political reasons, and working to get a competent Iraqi ground force.
Do you think, and we have about 20 seconds here, do you think that Maliki would be just better if he resigned?
Well, it's not clear that he can pull this off at this point, you know. we'll have to see. They have a government formation underway, and we need to see what the Iraqi people can do. The last thing I'll say is we have a real problem here brewing in terms of foreign fighters coming back into Europe and maybe even to the United States.
All right.
We should talk about it another time.
I'm sorry we have to end it there. Back in a moment with some personal thoughts.